Oh, we're on.
You good to go?
Alrighty.
I missed the whole face thing, but
Yeah, right. Hey guys, what's up? It's Natalie Newhart here, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why does she always wear the same shirt? You're right, I do. I love this shirt. Guilty. So I want to take a few minutes to inform you guys about a very common situation that a lot of people run into, and it's called metabolic damage, also known as metabolic adaptation or metabolic crashing. So I want to take a few minutes and talk about what it is, how it happens, why it happens, and how you can prevent it from happening to you. So think to yourself, maybe you know somebody, or maybe you've experienced a situation yourself where you're eating an extremely low amount of calories and exercising a ton, and yet you still can't seem to lose that body fat, right? This situation is extremely common among people, thinking that, oh, the more cardio I do, the less I eat, the more the weight's going to come off. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't happen like that. Metabolic damage is basically, sorry, I got my notes here. I just want to make sure that I give you everything, make sure I talk about everything that I want to talk about. So metabolic crashing is a point where your metabolism is so repressed that you basically lose the ability to drop any body fat. And what's happening here basically is once you get to a certain deficit of calories, whether that be just running on a low calorie diet or doing an excessive amount of training or cardio, your body ends up making these adaptations, and you become sort of basically the perfect fat storage machine. And what happens is, your body starts adapting to this low calorie input and this high calorie output. And there's a series, it's almost like a symphony of adaptations that occur. For one, your metabolism starts to slow down. You don't get the same thermogenic effect from food. Your digestion becomes way more efficient, so it's trying to extract all the energy from every little bit of food that you get, which is a bad thing. So metabolic efficiency is a bad thing. You basically get no caloric burn from the cardio that you do, because your body is just basically trying to preserve all the energy possible. So it's basically just trying to run as efficient as possible, with the goal to basically keep you from starving yourself, okay? And that's the whole reason of why it actually happens, is because our body is actually built on survival. So there's these protective mechanisms that occur when we drop below a certain calorie amount or do excessive amount of training, which ends up resulting in a caloric deficit. And so when we get out of that sort of homeostasis of where our body likes to be, then our body starts developing these adaptations to hold on to body fat to protect you from starving. So all very bad things. And there's so much science that actually goes into it. But basically, you can just think of it that just everything slows down. You burn less, you become way more efficient, and your body wants to hold on to everything, okay? And so you basically become, like I said, the perfect fat storage machine. And that can, be really frustrating when you're trying to lose weight and you think you're doing everything right, and yet you're not seeing any changes. So, how does it occur? Metabolic damage occurs when you've been in a low-calorie diet over a period of time. The longer that you're in that low-calorie diet, the more adaptations that will occur, and the longer it's going to take you to recover from that metabolic damage. Okay, so actually for my own prep of my first physique show, I had about a 3-month prep, and it did take me, I didn't even feel normal. My hunger hunger signals and everything didn't even feel normal until 3 months after the show. So I've experienced that myself as far as, you know, the length of time it requires to recover from being in a deficit for so long. Okay. Why does it occur? Like I said, it would, you know, it's just a survival mechanism, and just protect you from starving yourself. Um, and the last question was how can you prevent it from happening? Okay. Um, so first of all, well, there's three things. Okay. Reverse dieting is extremely important. So when you aren't dieting, you want to take enough time to build up your metabolic capacity. And this is the thing I think that most people don't understand, right? They diet down and then they just try to hang out there at that low calorie or just maintain that body weight for as long as they can. What you want to do is you want to build up that metabolic capacity. So what I mean by that is you want to try to find the maximum amount of calories that you can take in without gaining body fat, okay? And the way that you go about doing that, let's say I did diet down, okay? I just went on a 8 to 12 week diet, right? I lost a bunch of weight, I look great, feel great, okay? Now you don't want to, hopefully I didn't get into a really low calorie diet, but let's just say I did, okay? That I had to go to like 1,200 calories in order to lose the body fat I wanted. Well, after that point, what I would want to do is reverse diet. So slowly and in control, increase my calories over time. And by increasing calories, I mean like 2 to 5% of your carbs and fats each week. That could be 5 grams of carbs that you're adding in every week. So we're talking really small numbers. But over the course of time, given that, like, let's say a year, okay, if I built up slowly enough, I can increase my diet to 300, buy 300 grams of carbs, and yet still be ideally at the same body fat that I was originally, okay? Because my body will adapt to that, like your body it'll adapt to that higher calorie intake, because you're not giving it a high amount of calories and your metabolic rate is down here, okay? If that was the case, if you consumed a high amount of calories right after hitting the low point of your diet, and you did that quick, like I just shot up by 1,000 calories, and I would gain a bunch of body fat because my metabolic rate is down here, and yet that calories that I'm taking in is up here, okay? So it's gonna make up that difference by just putting on body fat on me. But if I slowly ramp up my calories, my metabolic rate will also recover, ideally at that same rate as long as it's slow enough, and that'll allow me to maintain that body weight and not at least not put on excessive body fat, okay? And so then over time, eventually my caloric intake is going to be much higher, but yet I'm still at the same body fat, if that makes sense. So reverse dieting is extremely important. So making sure that you get your diet breaks, like taking diet breaks in between diets, is the best thing that you can do, and I think is the thing that is not talked about at all. Like, or this entire problem is like nobody talks about it. It's not in the magazines. I don't know why, because it seems like, honestly, it seems like 9 out of 10 people run into this problem. Like, this is why they're not losing weight. Okay. And so another thing, just think about, like, if one person is at 3,000 calories, taking in 3,000 calories, and another person's taking in 2,000 calories, which person is more likely to have an easier chance of losing body fat? The person that has 3,000 calories, because they have way more wiggle room to play around with when they hit plateaus, right? I mean, we all hit plateaus in our diets. Every 3 to 6 weeks, you're going to hit a plateau. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, okay? But when you hit those plateaus, a person with 3,000 calories has a lot more wiggle room, because you can cut, your calories a little bit more each time you hit that plateau. The person with 2,000 calories, you can only go so low in as far as your diet goes. I mean, I wouldn't suggest ever going I mean, I wouldn't suggest ever going below 1200 unless you're prepping for a show, and even that is extreme to me. But even like 1500, you know, that would be starting to get on the low end. So anyways, that would only give you 500 calories with the person that's taking 2000 in, okay, to play with. So that's the whole point. You know, if the higher your metabolic capacity, then the easier chance you're going to have as far as losing body weight. And the only way to do that is to take your time and build it up slowly over time by increasing your calories in very slow and controlled amounts. So that's how you can prevent it, number one. Can you prevent metabolic damage? Number two, like the second way you can prevent it is making sure that you give yourself enough time when you do want to diet down, okay? I get a lot of people that come to me and say, oh, I'm leaving for Hawaii in a month. I need a flat stomach in a month. And I'm like, first of all, you're only eating 1,200 calories. And second of all, that's only 4 weeks. Like, there's no way you can do that. You can't, I mean, even if you did have a good metabolic capacity and you wanted to, you know, have a flat stomach in a month, you can't take drastic jumps like that. When you do that, it sends off that signal to your body saying, like, you know, that it's basically going into starvation mode, even though you're not at like a super low calorie. But the fact that you took it away from something that it's already adapted to, it like freezes up and goes into that fight or flight mode. Okay, and so it's going to signal all those adaptations to hold on to fat and keep you at that same like body fat state that you're already at. So making sure that when you do diet down, whether you do it yourself or you have a coach do it for you, hopefully they know what they're doing, but to just slowly decrease those calories each week, okay, rather than doing it excessively. And you know, you can play around with it, but I wouldn't go, you know, I'm talking maybe like, you know, it depends on where you're at as far as metabolic capacity, but you know, play around with just 15 grams of carbs a week that you take out, okay? So just always allow yourself enough time to diet down rather than less time, like 16 weeks, 20 weeks, you know, that is where you're gonna have long-term success versus trying to cut those calories right away. That is like a terrible idea. It's like the worst thing that you could do. Okay, so that is basically the two things that to prevent you from going into that. And yeah, so if you don't take those two necessary precautions to slowly reverse diet and take the time to diet down, you're either going to destroy your metabolism by staying in a really low calorie diet, or if you add calories in too fast rather than taking the slow approach, you're going to gain a bunch of body fat, okay? And it's because your metabolism just can't keep up with it because you're just inputting all those calories in way too fast. So that is basically it. You know, in summary, just want to reiterate, make sure that you take diet breaks long enough to build up that metabolic capacity. The longer the better. And how do you know when you have built up that metabolic capacity? Basically, when you've reached a maximum amount of calories and your body weight or body fat is still at the same level, once your body fat starts to increase like significantly, then like you know that you've kind of hit that point, the maximum amount of calories that you can take in that your metabolism can keep up with. Okay, so take diet breaks. Make sure that slowly increase your calories over time during those diet breaks, and give yourself enough time to diet down. So that's basically it, guys. That's it in a nutshell. Metabolic damage, not talked about enough, and yet so many people read into it. And I just want you to really understand the seriousness of it, because if you end up doing that yo-yo effect where you diet down and you hang out there all the time, or you keep decreasing calories, keep cutting calories, you're going to mess up your metabolism, and you're just going to dig yourself a really big hole, and that's when you get into some real problems with trying to lose weight. So if you don't take care of it, you're going to lose it. So take care of your metabolism, understand it, you know, understand the importance of it, and yeah, just treat it well, okay? So yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can leave a comment below, email me. I respond to all the comments on YouTube, on my blog, on my website, through email, so contact me, I'd love to help, and yeah, hopefully that helps. Thanks guys, we'll talk